It's been a long time since I've made a video about my writing, and since it's Nanowrimo season, I figured I'd sit down and update you on what's been going on. Because a lot has changed since I last talked about my writing, so let's chat about it. I think my last writing video was in 2020. At the time, I was prepping for Nanowrimo 2020 with my dark academia project that I had just started brainstorming and developing. And then I didn't end up getting to do Nanowrimo because I got a job offer and moved and had to put priority on that instead of writing. So all of November was instead dedicated to moving. So for Nanowrimo last year, I decided to try again and work on my dark academia project. Unfortunately, I didn't do enough work in the year between those two Nanowrimos to actually develop the story, and by the time I sat down to write it in 2021, it just wasn't ready, and as much as I tried to make it work for Nanowrimo, I just couldn't get the words on the page that I needed. I want to say I got maybe like 15K to 18K into it, but I just kind of didn't have anything else to write because it wasn't developed enough. I basically just underestimated how much detail I needed to be able to actually Nanowrimo and overestimated my ability to discovery write. Especially for a story that is largely based around a mystery, you need clues to follow and you need those details in advance, which I definitely didn't have. So I once again lost Nanowrimo last year, but at least I started. So historically over the years, one thing that I've been very bad at, both in my writing and just generally in life, is doing things consistently. My brain is wired to get really obsessed with something for a short period of time and then forget it exists. So something like Nanowrimo is actually really good for my brain if I can get it to focus the way I need it to. But it also means that I can just sometimes forget my stories exist and just let them sit for a long period of time, which for years is what kind of happened for me between Nanowrimos. I would go really hard during Nanowrimo and then set it down and forget it existed until maybe October or November the next year when I'm like, oh yeah, it's time to write. So over the past couple of years, one thing I've been trying to do better is consistency. More consistently writing and working on projects. By no means am I perfect at this. I'm sure there was at least a month or two over the past year where I just kind of didn't touch any of my projects and just kind of forgot they existed. But this past April, I did Camp Nanowrimo and I set myself a 25,000 word goal and I got there. And in July, I did Camp Nanowrimo again and I set myself a 20,000 word goal and I also got there. So you might be wondering, Kristen, so you've gotten 45,000 words out this year already in the two Camp Nanowrimos. Are those on the Dark Academia project? You haven't mentioned what project it's on. And that's because it's on a project that I haven't told you about before, and that gets us into Nanowrimo 2022. So all 45,000 of those words were on the same project, which is the project that's kind of been my main focus all year, with some other things grabbing my attention throughout the year that I have put other words on, just haven't tracked. And that project is actually a fanfic for the K-pop group 17. I don't want to get too much into the premise because I do plan to post it to AO3 once I'm done writing it and it's edited, and I plan to do so anonymously. My name is not attached to my AO3 account and I kind of want to leave it that way. Not for any particular reason, I just kind of enjoy the anonymity. And this has been my main project for a few reasons, but the biggest one is that I have not finished a draft in a long time. I rarely get feedback on my writing, and I kind of just want to be able to write a story, edit it, make it exactly how I want it, and then put it out to the world where people can read it and I can get feedback on it. The feedback is the biggest thing, I think. I just want to put something out there and see how people react, good, bad, indifferent. Probably not indifferent, because in that case they won't actually give me feedback. So yeah, I've put 45,000 words into that draft so far this year, and that is what I'm going to continue to do into Nanowrimo 2022. So more than anything, more than 50,000 words, my goal for Nanowrimo 2022 is to finish the draft so that I can then start editing it after Nanowrimo's over. However, here's where the wrinkle comes in, because I don't think there are 50,000 words left in the story. I've already written 45,000. I think tops this story has like 30,000 words left in it, maybe closer to 20 or 25. So where are the rest of my Nanowrimo words coming from? The answer is that although I'm generally a Nanowrimo rebel, I'm almost always continuing to work on a project that I was already working on or continuing a draft I was already in the process of writing. This year, I'm going to be an extra rebel and I'll be working on 2 projects. Goal number 1 is to finish the draft of the fanfic. Goal number 2 is to continue working on the Dark Academia project. This is where things start to get a little murky because I don't have any clear goals for the Dark Academia project. Maybe I need to make some. I don't necessarily plan to work on any sort of draft for the Dark Academia project because, once again, I've been working on the fanfic and haven't put much work into prepping the project. So these words for the Dark Academia project are going to come from the outline, from the character development, maybe from the draft if I decide to work on some scenes. I'm not sure, but I think this is going to be good for multiple reasons. Firstly, for the Dark Academia project, I just need something to force me to sit down and work on it in a quantifiable way instead of just letting it ruminate in my head like I tend to do. To be fair, that's kind of how some of my best brainstorming happens. I just let ideas sit in my brain for a long time and kind of marinate in there until something clicks. But I also have had quite a bit of success actually sitting down and actively brainstorming and actively working on outlines and character development, etc. So I need to do more of that. And on top of this, for a while, I've kind of been toying with the idea of working on multiple projects at once. I always force myself to focus on one project at once, kind of like I always focus on reading one book at once, but for the longest time I've been wondering if that's to my own detriment because I always find myself pulled in multiple directions. In many ways, it makes sense to just be deep into one project and be fully invested in that and working on only that, but often I find myself having difficulty doing that because my mind is going to all the other projects that I could be working on. So for once, I'm going to try to indulge that and try to work on 2 at once and see how it goes. I think this will also be good because there's almost always a point in Nanowrimo where I just kind of get sick of my project that I'm working on, and this time I can switch to something else and work on that and still be getting words for Nanowrimo. So I'm a little nervous on how this is going to work out, but mostly I'm just really optimistic about this, and I think Nanowrimo is going to go really well this year. Don't want to jinx it, but I think it's going to go really well. Am I going to vlog it? I genuinely don't know. I might vlog it. I might just post updates on TikTok, which I'll leave linked in the description. I'm not sure I've ever done that before. I might disregard both altogether and just write, because I may not have the time and mental energy to do anything else. So I think that's all I had to talk about. This was a really impromptu video, so I didn't really have much of a list of things to talk about. I made one on the spot, but I might come up with something that I should have talked about in a few hours when I'm, eating dinner or something. Apart from the 17 fanfic, I actually have another fanfic that I randomly got inspiration for in like mid-May and outlined the entire thing in like 2 days, and I think I wrote like 10k words on it and then never touched it again. I don't understand why I do this. Fanfics just for some reason always feel easier to run to when my novel projects feel too big and scary, which is goofy because it's not like I put any less effort into the fanfics or that they're any easier to write. They just feel less stressful and like less pressure, I guess. I don't know. I also sometime in the summer made like a list of the 19 projects currently taking up space in my brain. Yep, 19. The 17 fanfiction is nowhere near the only project that I've never talked about on here. And I went through and divided them up into 4 different categories, basically like I need to shelve this project and stop thinking about it and letting it take up space in my brain. I'm not really sure about this one, but I don't want to shelve it for now. Third are ones that I probably want to finish, but not necessarily at this exact moment. And finally, the ones actively exciting me that I actually really want to work on currently. And obviously both the 17 fanfic and the Dark Academia project are in that top list. So I've rambled enough. I think it's time to end this video. Let me know down in the comments if you are also doing Nanowrimo, if you're also being a Nano Rebel this year. You can also add me on Nanowrimo. I am definitely going to be active on there a lot during the month of November. And follow me on TikTok in case I decide to do daily updates on there instead of bigger videos on here. Also, let me know down in the comments which one you prefer. Do you like the shorter form like TikTok daily updates, or do you prefer like longer weekly updates on YouTube, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck with NaNoWriMo. Bye!